Super. All right. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here with you. Thank you for joining me this morning. I appreciate you taking the time. In the Research and Development Division at Cotton Incorporated, we're continually developing fabrics for apparel and home products. And we share these with manufacturers, brands, and retailers who are selling product to consumers worldwide. Now, let my little mouse work. Okay. When we're developing fabrics, just to give an intro, it always starts with the fiber. It starts with the cotton fiber. It gets brought in here to Cotton Incorporated, or we'll find yarn at other companies. But a lot of yarns that we do use at Cotton Incorporated are fibers that come in from U.S. cotton. So then it goes into the yarn. And then fabrics. We develop the fabrics that I'm going to share a lot of them with you for the final end use being garments or apparel or home products. Just to give you an idea, some of you have been to our facility in the Cary, North Carolina headquarters, and we have a mini factory here. So on the standpoint of doing the fabric developments, we've developed knit fabrics and woven fabrics. And on the left, you think about your t-shirts or your hoodies or your sweaters or your turtlenecks, and those are all going to be the knits, and they're formed by loops that are stretchy. So you think about something to stretch over your head, you got to have something that's going to have give and elasticity. But on the right-hand side with wovens, you're going to have something that's more stable and more rigid. Your woven shirts, your jeans, your chinos, and things like that. If you haven't been here before, I do welcome you to come because it's really interesting to see in person. When we do develop fabrics, we really have to put a lot of thought and strategy into it. So work really closely with our marketing team, promotions, and also economics. I'm sure you've heard from John Devine before. And we really need to know where we need to be focusing the efforts. And so with the total market for fibers, all fibers, 74% of it goes into apparel and 23% of it goes into home. And then there's a small percentage that's other. That's what you see on the left side. On the right side, there's some big pieces of the pie. So knit tops are really a large part. You can almost say it's almost a third. And then bottoms are about a third as well. And then it kind of breaks down to a smaller percentage of garments types, dresses, sweaters. That 12% other would be more like PPEs, some non-wovens, things like that. So that kind of forms how we decide where we can have the most impact. So definitely home is very important. Cotton all homes should be 100% cotton in my opinion. So we do focus on that, but definitely these apparel areas are very important. So there's this history, in 1930s, that polyester was invented, and then these goofy people started wearing the clothes, and they were wearing double knit polyester leisure suits. And it continued, and really that's how the Cotton Research and Promotion Program started, because of this competition from these synthetics. And it's continued to today, where they've just done a lot of technical work. In some ways, it's definitely considered popular. You see it in all the golf wear, professional wear. And so that's our competition. It was our competition then, and it continues to be a big thorn in our side. When we compare cotton and synthetics, look at cotton.
Right.
Cotton grows in a field. You're dealing with weather. I just listened that you're dealing with potential 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds. I can't imagine. And so you're dealing with the weather. You're dealing with bugs. I heard there's a new bug, that's that jacid, just funguses, relentless. I applaud you for growing cotton. And then polyester. It's in a factory. It's in conditions that are controlled. You can make these thousands and thousands of yards of long. It's really from plastic, but these filaments that can be finer than a strand of hair, and they can be all uniform and even. And it's from plastic, so it is water repellent. It doesn't absorb moisture. So when, again, mentioning what we work on the most, it's two different things. First is we have to preserve and protect markets that belong to cotton. So denim is super important. We're working on development with that. Knit tops, and also home textiles, sheets, towels, blankets, anything along those lines. However, also, when we look at, besides preserving, we have to grow some markets, and the market demands, as I mentioned to you, our competition, just of wanting lighter weights, fast drying, moisture wicking, active stretch, and also sun protection. So these are areas where it gets a little more complicated because cotton is an amazing fiber. It absorbs a lot of water. It can absorb 2 to 3 times its weight in water, which is great for towels. It's great for a lot of garments, but if you're really sweaty, that can be a bit of a challenge. But we have solutions. So last year, in the PDI division, Product Development and Implementation, we developed 97 new fabrics. These fabrics were all made here at Cotton Incorporated. They were uh, finished with different colors, with different dye techniques, with different fabric constructions, whether it be for performance or whether it be for aesthetic details. And these fabrics were put into marketing toolkits to provide to our marketing department division, with our account managers being all over the world, here in the United States, as well as other countries that are using U.S. cotton. You might wonder how we get these fabrics made. So in the R&D center here in Cary, North Carolina, we can start with spinning, then go on to knitting and weaving. So all kinds of different knitting equipment, and then we have weaving equipment that can make very basic fabrics up to very complicated fabrics. We have dyeing of fabrics, printing, finishing, where we apply softeners, or perhaps our storm cotton technology or our tough cotton technology. All of that's done in finishing. Garment processing, where we're looking at using less water, less energy, lower chemicals, but trying to get really interesting effects that would typically be very time consuming and high intensive with chemicals. And then also a testing lab. So every fabric that is developed, it's tested. So we want to make sure we have low shrinkage, that we have the performance features like durability that we're working on developing. So I want to share some of the fabrics. As I mentioned, we developed 97 fabrics last year. We have an archive here at Cotton Incorporated of about almost 8,000 fabrics. And we welcome brands and mills, retailers to come in to look at these fabrics to gain inspiration, because we want them to use more cotton. So indigo, as I mentioned, indigo denim, super important. So we want the consumer to buy that extra pair. We want brands to have ideas where they're going to continue working with cotton and denim. So here are some just interesting fabrics where we're just taking them to a different level, with interesting yarn effects on the left, and the one with the white background and a really interesting indigo novelty yarn, having faded effects that we achieve using laser technology or ozone technology rather than permanganate or bleach. And that also makes it much more lower labor involved. So these kinds of things can be really implemented in the United States very easily. As I mentioned, it's very important as we work in our research area to reduce inputs. So that's just very important, using that less water. So all of these effects were achieved by using alternatives to bleach, alternatives to hand sanding, and also use less water because of the equipment that we have worked with. More state-of-the-art equipment that is just really focusing on using less water and chemicals. And then I mentioned that the big part is knit tops. Knits are extremely important, as well as bottoms. And so we really want to show ideas to show how cotton can be so interesting, how it, we can definitely show you jersey constructions, the thing that goes into a t-shirt. We're very good at engineering those structures for performance and for aesthetics. But here we want to show how cotton is so interesting with novelty yarns like the one on the left. And the next one that's kind of a two-tone, new fabrics for hoodies. Brands are always looking for new fabrics that can go into hoodies and jackets and kind of sweatshirt types of garments. And so this is an interesting two-tone effect. The next one, this clip spot single knit, just really interesting color effects, but we have the natural cotton in the background and then these little pops of color. And this last one on the right, that one is a woven, 100% cotton, but it's got a very interesting undulating pattern effect that would be great for bottom weights. And also a lot of these fabrics will work both for home and bottom weights and tops. Here's some more knits where, we're trying to do aesthetic effects, however, also performance from the standpoint. These fabrics have a three-dimensional quality to them, so there's less touch points against the skin. With that case, you're going to have better breathability. It's going to be more comfortable and more airflow. So we've got really lightweight fabric on the left, that teal one, that's a popcorn stitch, and then adding novelty yarns on the next one with these little color pops. And then we have a sweater knit that's got a really interesting sporty stripe hem, but it also has a lot of just a melange look and just dimensional interest. And then multicolor melange looks on the right-hand side. Also, we do develop fabrics for home products. These fabrics are jacquard geometrics made on our jacquard equipment here. They're very beautiful multicolor fabrics. Just think about them for pillows for the home, also for upholstery as well. The thing that I love about cotton, and I find the fiber is truly amazing. You can take cotton from the field, it can be spun into a yarn, it can be woven or knit into a fabric, and you just maintain the natural beauty of cotton. You don't have to dye it. You can leave it in its natural state. In these cases, we used enzymes rather than detergents to clean the surface of the fabric, to remove those pectins, remove the waxes, but just maintaining this natural beauty of cotton. We call it the natural story. And I think cotton is the most sustainable fiber there is out there, and consider it a supernatural fiber. So this minimal processing has really resonated with the industry and resonated with the brands and the retailers. And then also thinking about cotton and natural and wanting to build other performance aspects, say, for instance, fleece. That fabric in the middle, the orange one, typically a fleece, if you buy a sweatshirt, it's going to be a cotton and a polyester. The polyester is going to be on the inside, on that fuzzy side, because you have to pass flammability. And you have to pass in the United States. But we are replacing that synthetic polyester with wool, because wool is naturally flame retardant. So it's a beautiful combination of cotton and wool that's also going to be biodegradable. On the left, we have cotton and linen. So you're going to have the breathability and strength, and the colorway of the linen coordinating with the natural cream color of cotton. And then on the right, denim for cool weather climates. Adding that wool makes it a perfect garment for cool weather for the autumn months. Again, all in natural fibers. Then also, when we look at performance, we look at it two ways. I mentioned earlier on that, we do have the challenge with lighter weight fabrics. They have to be faster drying. They have to be breathable, all of that. So we have achieved this through just the construction itself, just the construction of the fabric, the yarn selection. And a little bit later, I'm just going to show you how we also have our cotton incorporated performance technologies that have been so successful. So these fabrics, for instance, on the left, it's a knitted fabric. It's called a seersucker. The seersucker originally was a woven fabric that maybe you have seersucker suit. It's kind of blue and white stripes, but the whole idea is that you have fewer touch points against the skin so that you're going to have better airflow. So very excellent for summer. And so that's what we have on the knit on the left, but you also have stretch. And then the pink one, this one has that really nice finished hem that's done on the knitting machine. It's called a garment length machine. We have a pointelle construction, so building permanent holes in the fabric, so you're going to have that enhanced breathability. The white fabric is called a skip dent. You're kind of getting a textile course today, I think. But this is a skip dent where you're having these openings in the vertical effect, so again, creating this airflow and nice and lightweight. And the one on the right, that's called a mock lino. So it's got a lot of little holes that are permanent that are just going to build that airflow. It's going to be lightweight, and it's also going to dry faster. So these performance fishing gear that you see out there, or sun shirts or swim shirts and all that, I think that the brands sometimes take the easy way out. It's like, okay, we can use polyester. We can extrude this material in with it, so it's going to make it UPF protectant. Did you know that 100% cotton fabrics, even with nothing special added to them, can be completely sun protective? And so that's why we developed this collection of UV fabrics. So what we have is 100% cotton. We have a twill, we have a jersey, we have a printed, we have two different printed wovens. But that 50 plus rating, that's the highest rating you can get. And the 45 plus is excellent, and that's on a white fabric. So we feel like showing these fabrics to the brands, just showing how you can really have these in 100% cotton. There is a UV absorber. It's a UV protectant that is put into the dye bath at the same time to make sure we hit that 50 plus. And then we also printed it with something called wicking windows. You can see those little patterns on the bottom left, and those help to move moisture away from the inside of the garment to the outside, and also help it dry faster. Also, sustainability is definitely a focus, but we feel that virgin cotton in apparel fabrics and also home is important because it's durable. that when you start adding recycled fibers into a yarn that goes into clothing, it's not left as long. So what we see the solution being is this non-woven batting in the middle. That is a recycled denim along with recycled t-shirt fabric. And we're replacing what would typically be a polyester fiber fill in the middle with this non-woven batting. So now we have 100% cotton, really nice fabrics that could be for trucker jackets, it could be for blankets, it could be for quilts. The yarn is also 100% cotton. That's something very important to point out, because typically the threads are not going to be 100% cotton. So this is completely biodegradable. We've got really nice denim on one side, a Sherpa knit on the other, and then on the left we have a terry knit with a twill woven. I mentioned the activewear, so we want to focus on denim, we want to focus on knit tops and home, but this area that's difficult is this competitive area of the lightweights. So one aspect of it is we developed a lot of fabrics that are 60% cotton, where we're putting the cotton on the inside of the garment, so you have that comfort, breathability, but then on the outside we have that techie look that you have from, say, the nylon or the polyester or the modal. Kind of take it in incremental steps. Additionally to this was a new initiative. I'm working really closely with our marketing team on this. It's called Cotton Flex. With yoga, with shapewear, with activewear, it's going to be all synthetic. It's going to be polyester and spandex, or it's going to be nylon and spandex. And what we did, we incrementally, in this case, we wanted to try to get as much cotton into a product that is typically completely synthetic. So we developed a fabric that has a lot of stretch. We've never usually gone above maybe 2 to 5% spandex, but in this case, to compete in these compression and stretchy fabrics, we had to go up to about 30% spandex, but still a lot of cotton in there. And we're at not me, but my colleagues were at a trade show just recently that focused on intimate apparel, shapewear, and activewear, and these fabrics had a lot of interest. We also have sourcing partners that already can make these fabrics, so we're really going to really drive hard to try to get these into with the brands and retailers. Performance technologies also, lots of really great performance technologies have been developed here at Cotton Incorporated to enhance cotton, to make it competitive with synthetics. And for instance, here, these are two bottom weight fabrics that have, first of all, natural stretch, which is comfort stretch, all in 100% cotton with no spandex, with pure press technology. And this is a non-formaldehyde technology that adds smoothness to the fabric. It makes it more easy care. And then also our trans dry technology. The pictures that you see where the dark color on the dark and in the vertical and the horizontal, that's where there's the moisture. Thinking about that's perspiration. But where it's light, that is completely dry. So with trans dry technology, we have rendered the cotton yarn completely hydrophobic. In this case, we can engineer fabrics so that we can move moisture horizontally, we can move it vertically, so it's going to spread faster. It's going to evaporate faster, and we're reducing the absorbent capacity. So, if you think about Under Armour, Athleta, these kinds of brands have adopted this technology and really made cotton competitive. And then also storm cotton technology, making a fabric cotton water resistant, super important. And so on these 100% cotton canvases, we have both storm cotton technology to make it water resistant, as well as tough cotton, which is a finish that extends the life of the fabric even further than what it already is innately. And so it's really a win-win, and just showing how durable and long-lasting cotton is. The other thing besides the traditional markets that we're working on, I think later on this year, you're going to hear a presentation from my colleague Martin about nonwovens. But in terms of knits and wovens, what we're working on for looking at new markets here is dimensional fabrics that have a really lot of stability. So we're thinking about, how about this for backpacks, for accessories, for bags? And we're also working really hard on knitted shoe uppers. If you think about your tennis shoes, most of those are synthetic. And in this case, these are cotton. This is under research and development here in our lab, and we just see a lot of potential here. So I've been sharing a lot with you, and you might wonder, well, how do these brands, retailers, and mills see the fabrics that are developed in the product Development and Implementation Division, and that is with the people that work here at Cotton. We have a great group of marketing professionals in the United States and also actually all over the world. And so we'll speak at presentations, at conferences. There's one-on-one meetings with major brands where we're sharing fabric concepts and ideas, presenting fabrics at international events, at U.S. trade shows as well as international trade shows. And we'll also make garments from developments so that can really show and illustrate where we see these fabrics going and how successful they can be in cotton and cotton-rich blends. So I covered a lot, but that's all I have to share with you today. One thing that I want to really point out is that they make it really hard sometimes to find labels in garments, but it starts with you, it starts with us about making sure we check the labels, and then any of your friends, any of your colleagues, make sure they check the label because there's a lot of fibers that are trying to impersonate cotton, but they're not. So thank you for your time.